Okay, guys, this is going to be, I would like you to take some notes for Australopithecus. You can take those on an actual notepad with pen or pencil, or you can take them online. So this is Australopithecus africanus, although there's more than one kind. The first Australopithecines appeared around 4 million years ago. Now, obviously, we don't have any photos of Australopithecus because we didn't have that technology, of course, back then, but this is an artist's representation of what they would have looked like according to their bone structure. Now, for those of you who don't want to write Australopithecus over and over again, you can just write a capital A. I always write a capital A and circle it. Whatever you guys want to do, they're your notes, okay? You're not going to turn these in. These are just for you. Now, remember, a lot of this information I'm giving you today can go right onto your slideshow, so any information that you don't have yet, it'll be really helpful to have this. Okay, so the male Australopithecines were approximately 4.5 feet tall, but the females were significantly shorter. They were only around 3 feet tall. So there's a huge difference in their height and their weight. Now, I'm going to talk about the weight, which is down here, but the weight of the females was only about 50 pounds. So just to kind of compare that, my son is 6 years old right now, and he's much taller. He's way taller than 3 feet, but he weighs about 50 pounds. So that's really small, okay? And then the males were about 75 pounds, and again, that's really small compared to us. Now, their brains varied. Now, cc's mean cubic centimeters, so their brains were about 375 to 500 cc's, and they had much bigger jaws than us. So if you take a look at this one right here, this first skull, that's an Australopithecus skull, and here's ours. Look at the brain difference in just these three, but this is ours right here. So it's a significant difference. So the shelter, Australopithecus lived to take shelter. So they didn't have homes like us. They did not build huts. They had absolutely no capability whatsoever to build huts or to build houses or anything like that, okay? They lived when they needed to take shelter, whether it was from rain or thunderstorms at nighttime. They lived under trees, not in the trees, but they would take shelter when there was a group of trees in tall grass and under rock overhangs. Now, the safest place for them would have been inside of a cave, but unfortunately, animals lived in there and they had no weapons to defend themselves. So they actually did not live in caves. They also had no ability to make fire. That's something that's really important. If I'm going too fast, you can let me know, but I'm going to move on. And this is being recorded if you do need to go back. Now, the Australopithecines originally lived in southern and eastern. It really does need to say eastern on there. It's not on there, but add that, please. So they lived in southern Africa and in eastern Africa. Now, of course, eventually, because they lived for a very long time, they migrated away from those two areas. But originally, it was just southern and eastern. Now, it's not South Africa. That's a current modern day country, but just the southern part of Africa at that time. The climate was really hot and dry. And I'm sorry, I thought I changed this already. Remember, we all share the work. They were first here around 4 million years ago. It's closer to 4 than it is to 3.5. So the climate was just changing at that time to where the climate was becoming really hot and dry. Now, tools, just like us guys, I mean, we use the same exact tools that they did. Yes, we are different from them, but we still use the exact same tools. And they didn't have the ability to make tools like us, so they didn't use the same tools as us, but we certainly did use the same tools that they did. So the tools that they had were anything that they could find that was naturally around them. And think of how many times we've done that in our life, where we've used a rock for something, especially as a kid, or a stick. So they used rocks and sticks. They were not formed, they weren't sharpened, they were not anything except for the rock that they found. So they didn't even sharpen them. And then, of course, probably their hands were their best tools. My hands and your hands are our best tools as well. It's how we hold a pencil to write. It's how we type. If you play sports, it's how you hold the baseball bat, or if you're playing basketball, how you shoot a hoop. So definitely put hands on there. Even though it seems obvious, that was definitely their best tool. And of course, they could not hunt because they didn't have weapons. Imagine how hard it would be to hunt anything with a rock. It is difficult. So not a slingshot, but just your hand and a rock. Okay. Some of the extras, there's so many extras, you guys, but some of the extras are the Australopithecus, they scavenged. Then we're assuming that they scavenged. So when a big animal would hunt and kill its prey, Australopithecines were there to eat what was left off of the bones, if they could find that, okay? Their nickname was, or is, the Southern Ape. Why? Because they looked like apes, okay? And they were found, Lucy was the most famous skeleton, probably the most famous skeleton ever found, but especially definitely the most famous Australopithecus skeleton. And she was found in 1974. It was a huge, huge deal. And as the legend goes, the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was actually playing they were having a party that night, the team that dug her up, because they were so excited to find such a complete fossil. And that song was playing, and someone said, oh, we should name her Lucy. And then everybody agreed. So she's named after that Beatles song. If you don't know the song, we probably don't. I will play it for you probably tomorrow. And then the last thing is that the Australopithecines were bipedal, which means they walked on two legs just like us, and they walked upright. So they didn't walk on their fists, okay? They walked standing up just like us. And even though they did scavenge occasionally when they could find an animal, most of their diet was plant-based, so they are considered herbivores. And they eat things like tubers, which sound really gross, but they're not. They're just root vegetables, so potatoes and carrots and things like that, if they could find them. So just know they mainly ate plants, fruit, nuts, other plants, and vegetables. And then, of course, they scavenged if they could. Now that you have all that extra information, I'm going to go ahead and leave it up to questions. And you guys can just know that you are actually being recorded still. So I'm going to stop my screen share, but this is still all being recorded. So if you do have questions, I would really appreciate it if you put your hand up in the chat. And then Arjun, go ahead and unmute and...
Oh, I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay.
That you weren't screen sharing the first time that you tried.
Oh, thank you so much. That was nice of you to tell me. Aiden?
Was that second skeleton and three, skeleton that line up? Was that like a chimpanzee or something?
No, that was an Australopithecus skeleton, and then I think the middle one was Homo erectus, and then the last one was us, Homo habilis. We're actually considered Homo habilis, which we have to get to at a different time, but we are, did I say Homo habilis? I can't believe I just called us Homo sapien. I'm sorry. I just noticed that my computer is actually almost going to die, so I'm putting this in. So we're Homo sapien, sapien. And we'll get to that when we get to Homo sapiens. Anyone else? Luke?
I actually do know the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds because that's the type of music my older sister listens to.
Oh, okay. Well, then perfect. You know what I'm talking about then. That's great. Anyone else? Okay, so now what you're going to do, and you're going to spend the rest of the class period today, I'm going to screen share again. You're going to all go over to your Google Classroom. So let me get rid of this and go to Social Studies. So depending on, so you're in my second, go to your own Social Studies, go to Classwork, And then you're going to go down to the Early Human Project, and you're going to go ahead and double click that. Thank you. I'm glad nobody turned it in yet. And you're going to start working on your first page, which is the Australopithecus page. Now, Mandy had told me that it's hard to fit all of the information into the squares. If anyone else is having that problem, let me know. I'm going to say maybe, Mandy, to make the title a little bit smaller and pull this up a little bit. See if that helps. I don't have a lot of other options. We are trying to make it just the 5 pages. Maybe you can use smaller font. What size font are you using, Mandy?
I think I'm using like 14.
Okay, definitely go smaller. I mean, don't go so small that I can't read it. So like not like an 8, but I bet you if you went to maybe an 11 or a 12, it would fit. And I hate to say this, but if your sentences are too long, see if you can omit any part of it without losing the meaning. I don't like to have you guys do that, but since the squares seem to be a little smaller, and if you have extra information for any of these squares, put it over here in extras. Now remember one important thing, guys, the extra section, you cannot repeat anything you've put here. So basically, once you put a piece of information down anywhere on your page, that's it. You can only use it one time. Okay, so just don't repeat anything that you have here over here. Please number everything for me. So for example, if you have 3 facts here, number it 1, 2, and 3. If you have 3 here, don't number it 4, 5, and 6. Go back to 1, 2, 3. Okay. Any questions before I let you guys go? And you're just going to work on this until e-period.
Sorry, I was wondering if are the time of that last questions due today?
No, those are not due today. No, those were just discussion questions. You're not doing anything with those. We're just talking about them.
Okay.
I'll have another activity later, but no, those are not due today. Everyone who knows exactly what they're doing. So you know right now, you're going to take your notes, you're going to take the information you got from the article, and then you're going to put the information into the page that we're looking at right now. Please leave the meeting and be back at 10:47 and go work on this. Everyone else who still has questions, you may stay. I'm going to stop screen sharing right now, and I'm going to actually stop the recording. Give me 1 second.